Welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to be exploring some scary stories about time travel. These are from a subreddit, where people post their time travel experiences. There are a lot of crazy stories on this subreddit, and I can't wait to share them with you. Some of these stories are terrifying, some are sad, but all of them will make you question the very nature of time. The first story is called A Day in the Future. This was posted by a user named Empty Soup Bowl. I was reading this one online years ago. It stuck with me ever since. The narrator of the story says that when he was 19, he was working as a night watchman at an old folks' home. One night, he was doing his rounds when he came across a resident who was unsupposed to be out of bed. The resident was sitting in a wheelchair by the window looking out at the moon. The watchman asked the old man what he was doing, and the old man replied that he was waiting for the moon to hit the ground. The watchman was confused, so the old man pointed up at the sky and said, "See how the shadow it casts is just about touching the ground now? In less than an hour, the moon will crash into the earth." The old man then looked back at the watchman and said, "It's going to happen in less than an hour, and you won't be here to see it." The old man's prediction freaked the young man out. He didn't know what to do. Was the old man right? Was the moon really going to crash into the earth? The young man couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, so he did something crazy. He took the old man's wheelchair and rolled it out the front door and left it in the middle of the road. Then he drove his van as far away from the old folks' home as he could. As the sun began to rise, the young man returned to the old folks' home to check on the residents. He was shocked to find that the old man was still sitting in his wheelchair by the window, even though it had been moved. How could this be possible? Did the old man have powers, or was he simply crazy? Or could it be that the young man had actually traveled back in time and saved the world from a giant moon? The young man never found out the answers to these questions, but he continued to wonder about them for the rest of his life. Wow, that was a crazy story. But, unfortunately, it's not the only one. Up next, we have a story about a time traveler who accidentally changes the past and creates a terrifying new future. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, let's move on to the next story. The next Reddit post is called Time Travel is Real. Change Nothing. This was posted by a user named DragonPunk42. I was hanging around the basement of my school one day when I heard some strange noises coming from the janitor's closet. I opened the door to investigate and saw a strange device with lights flashing and sparks flying. Suddenly, the lights went out, and when they came back on, I noticed that everyone in my school had disappeared. I was the only person there. I wandered around the school for a bit, but I couldn't find anyone. I was scared and confused, but then I saw a note on the floor that read, "Don't worry, I've been expecting you." The note was signed by the mysterious inventor of the time machine. I followed the instructions and got into the time machine, which transported me to a different time and place. When I got out of the time machine, I realized that I had traveled to the past. I was in the same school, but it was 10 years earlier. I didn't know what to do, but the note said that I needed to fix something, whatever that meant. I started talking to people and eventually met a young version of my best friend. I told him about the time machine and he believed me. We went to the basement of the school and I showed him the time machine. My friend was amazed and wanted to see it for himself. However, when I turned it on, it didn't work. It seemed like the time machine was only able to travel back in time once. My friend and I were both disappointed, but we knew that I had to go back to my own time, so I got into the time machine and activated it. As I was transported back to my own time, I saw a vision of the future. It was a dark and dystopian future where the machines had taken over and humanity was no longer in control. I realized that my best friend was the leader of the machines and that he had become evil. I tried to warn people about the future that I saw, but no one believed me. They thought I was insane. I was scared and confused, but I knew that I had to stop my friend from becoming evil. I went back to the past again and tried to warn my friend, but he didn't listen. I was desperate, so I did something crazy. I destroyed the time machine, preventing my friend from ever becoming evil. However, this also erased my own existence from the timeline. When my friend returned to the past to check on the time machine, he found it destroyed and no trace of me anywhere. He was confused and scared, but he knew that he had to move on, so he became the hero of the new timeline instead. That was a crazy story, but unfortunately, it's not the only one. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, let's move on to the next story.